for a no limit hold'em micro session in the lovely Potbombers Club on the PP network with 3 table, 20 cent, 40 cent. In this session we start off with 2 tables, change to about 3 tables halfway through. Some interesting spots in this session. Played for about an hour 40. I've got it back to an hour, probably still a little bit long. But I'm hoping that rather than just dump the video, you fast forward and to some hands that you might have some interest in. But the action's very good. Just checking out and color coding the players that we haven't played with before. As we get into the session, certainly allows for some easier decision making regarding strat. This is an easy 3-bet. Against this guy. His PFR is quite wide at 20%. We're beating that range very easily. He doesn't like to fold. It's going to control the pot here. Probably gets a made hand on the turn, but we can't really fold at this point. So we'll float, we'll fill up on the river, which is nice, and we'll try and get some value out of the hand, which we do. So that's a good result. Got jacks on the left to some limps, and we make it $2. Might be a little high, but in this game people don't like to fold, so I want to charge them pre-flop when I have premiums. They're calling off a lot lighter, they're limp calling lighter, so we may as well, if they're going to join us in the pot, let's build the pot early with those premium hands. The action in the club remains very, very good. We'll progress to some slightly higher stakes over the next few weeks. We'll probably go to 30-60 NL and then do some sessions at 51. But for now we're sticking at the micros. Not much happening in this part of the video. Not sure why this bit didn't end up on the editing floor, but it didn't. Apologies for that. I hope everyone's well under COVID, under the lockdown. Some countries are lifting their restrictions as we speak, including New Zealand, where I'm based at the moment. I'm a refugee until I can get back to Australia and ultimately back to my home in the Philippines. But for now, enjoying my time living with my brother and his 2 dogs, and playing a bit of poker and staying involved in the club scene. So I feel quite blessed, actually. I couldn't really be in a better place than where I am for lockdown. Certainly my thoughts go out to everyone that are in more difficult situation, for sure. Flop a flush here, pretty ratty flush, but unlikely he's beating us. We're going to get value on every street, and we'll go for a pretty big bet on the river. Doesn't seem like he's going to fold. He's a yellow coded, so they don't like to fold. VPIP over 50. We bet over pot, and he calls. Not much happening on the left. We're done with that hand. Suited connectors on the right. See what the action is. That will help us make a decision. There's a raise and a 4-bet. Get rid of that one out of position. We're not closing the action. There could be a re-raise. Ace-Jack suited. Lovely hand in the cutoff. We'll bump that up. See what develops. Color code this guy. 32 is a blue, which is a, middle of the road VPIP. His VPIP was 32. So not too crazy. King eight offsuit. Not a great hand. We may defend to a button raise. I think we can 3-bet here as well. We decide to defend. We don't flop well. Suited connectors on the left. L5-6 suited. And we get rid of that hand. We raise with the suited connectors on the left. And we flop a pair with a backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw. Have some equity. I think we'll continue. And we do. This card's a good card to barrel, I feel. Hopefully I do. Yep. Hits our range more so than his range. So we should be continuing. We do. And we take it down. Queen Jack suited in the big blind on the left. It's a nice hand to defend with and potentially 3-bet pre-flop out of position. We elect a flat here because that guy is a blue coating, so we rate him as reasonably solid. So his raising range there is probably ahead of ours. We try and steer this to showdown. We have a gut shot. And we miss and give up. Queen 10 suited. Nice hand on the button. We get a caller. We'll elect to c-bet this flop. Got an overcard and some backdoor straights. Not a good turn card. Keep telling the story. Conscious of his stack size. And we can't bluff him on the river, so we give up. Wow, well, he picked up the flush draw on the turn with a pair. It's fair enough. Pocket tens, nice hand. Bit frisky with 8-9 offsuit, raising under the gun. I don't like that play. I've left it in there because we can't be embarrassed about our mistakes. Poker is a game of whoever makes the least amount of mistakes generally wins, but that's definitely a mistake. We get min clicked and have to call off. We do flop well. Flop the low end, but we're only losing to ace king. He gets it all in. He's got aces and we'll stack off with them. And we take down a nice sized pot. His mistake there was his 3-bet was way too small. He doesn't want to scare me away, I guess, with that hand. He wants to keep me in. So a good size re-raise pre-flop I was folding. But, to be fair, heads up, he wants me to call with the hand that I had. So that was just a cooler for him. And lucky for us. An overcard, some backdoor straights, backdoor ratty flush. I think c-betting on that flop is good. You take that down. In fact, one of the errors in my game is my c-bet percentage is probably not high enough. And if someone's using a HUD against me, they are able to see that my c-bet stat shows I pretty much c-bet when I hit something or when I hit a draw. So my c-bet percentage is too low and certainly needs to be a little higher. I think it runs at about 45 to 50%. It should be, in my opinion, closer to 60%. And I can definitely and do get exploited in that regard by good players. Not a bad flop on the left here for our hand, given that we missed it and we're heads up, so we're going to continue betting. He calls. Not a great turn card. Probably steer this to, we have some showdown value with the ace high. Probably not good, but it's definitely a check behind, and if he bets, it's a fold. Yep. He's reasonably competent, that player, and you can see he's got the little V symbol above his avatar. That means he has a HUD, which at the micros in this playing environment is a little bit rare. So we give him some automatic credit, and we're against the same guy on the right. He bets out on the river. We're just calling there, set over set, but very scary board. We don't want to blow the pot up, and we get lucky on the river. Interesting board on the left here. I think there's an argument to fold or raise. I don't really like a flat call. And we folded that hand. Ace King offsuit in the small blind. Nice hand. We're definitely 3-betting with his hand. We're against our mate with the HUD. He calls, and we need to c-bet that flop. Queen 10 suited on the right. It's a nice hand. Not the best flop. No diamonds. There's some backdoor straights and an overcard. And we pick up a pair. I think we're trying to get this to showdown. The board is not great. Hoping it goes check check on the river. Potentially losing to a weak jack. 2 pair maybe. It's quite a big bet. Looks a little bit bluffy, but I think we have to call off here. Yep, he turned 2 pair. The hand makes sense. I think there's an argument for calling and an argument for folding there. Really comes down to the story he was trying to tell throughout the hand. But we were blocking the 2 pair, so it's less likely he turned 2 pair, and he could have been betting a busted flush draw, straight draw on the river, so I'm comfortable with the call. Pocket sixes here. It's an argument for a raise pre-flop out of position with sixes to try and take it down. We elected to flat for some implied odds if we hit our set, which we miss and we get away from it. Ace jack offsuit, it's a nice hand, definitely raising here in the cutoff. We get a shove. We'll have a look at his HUD. We're behind his, probably behind his shoving range, but he's pretty short stacked. We do have a good hand. I think it's okay to stack off here. He's shoved with a raggy ace. We'll let the board run out. We're in good shape. And that's a horrible river. Better than losing, but a horrible river. We had him completely crushed. Ace King offsuit to follow up. Don't know what happened there. I timed out. I didn't get into the hand. Well, that is a leak. Anyway, life goes on. Onwards and upwards. There's always plenty of hands to play. Ace Jack off under the gun. It's an easy raise. 6 max. We want this guy calling. Looking at he's a 41% VPIP. He found a fold. Ooh, excuse me, bit of hay fever. Ladies on the left have a love-hate relationship with that particular hand. We have some action, a limp, a raise. We'll bump it up here. We take it. No, oh yes, we take it down. He used his rabbit hunt functionality in his HUD to see the run out, and we would have banked a set on the flop or the turn, I believe. Taking down a pot uncontested is never a bad thing. Picked up $1.20 to, we picked up $2.20 in dead money there. So from a big blind point of view, that's an excellent result for no risk. 6-7 off, dumping that. Pocket eights. Not a bad flop, but I think we just control the pot. It's three-way, heads up. We probably check raise or lead that flop. But I think in a three-way pot, it's more difficult. King Queen off. It's good for a defend to a raise, and for a limp pot, it's definitely a re-raise pre. We're going to under-rep our hand a little bit here. The board's not great. He's short stacked. Probably give him credit. Not beating anything. We decided to float one more. I think that's a mistake, to be honest. On the second table, top. We lead out for just over half pot. Yeah, the King was played badly. King Queen under the gun. We'll open 6 max with that hand. Full ring, we're probably folding pre-flop depending on the table makeup with King Queen offsuit. At 6 max, it's an open in my view, especially against a soft field. I'm happy to play a wider range of hands out of position in these games because I feel the majority of players are making a lot of mistakes pre-flop and post-flop. And I think we can get more value by having and playing a slightly wider range. Tricky spot here. Really have to call off now. I'm hoping probably for a side pot with the player at the top of the table. And he's just milking us, and that's a horrible river. Yep. Yeah, that's pretty poorly played on my behalf. Probably would have liked a 4x raise on the button with 7-8 suited there against a limp. We get a nice flop. Got a gut shot to the super nuts, straight flush. We're three-handed. We don't necessarily want to scare these guys away, but I want to build the pot. We take it down. Probably should have just flat called there, sorry, to be honest, with that flopped flush. It's a lot of bad turn cards, obviously, but killing the action there is probably a mistake. Could have maybe min-clicked it. I think if he's leading into me, he's got something. A min-click might have kept him in. Raising with ace-9 suited on the left. Flop top pair, backdoor flush. We're just going to control the pot here. I think if he checks here, we will bet. We will bet. Good decision, Beat. Yeah, I don't think we should be checking that board twice. That would have been a mistake. And we'll check behind. Wow, pretty light. Don't think he's calling a river bet anyway. I think checking behind is fine. It's a heads up, it's a good board for us with the ace-10. We should be c-betting this board. He leads into us. It's interesting. Bet size is very small. He probably was blocker betting a flush and got there. Got the nut blocker, but I think we're just going to give it up. His stack was pretty small. Pocket queens. I don't like just limping with queens there. We can never put the big blind on a hand range. Flop top set on a rainbow board. Don't mind building the pot here. He calls. Turn card's not great, but we just, we're never folding. He decides to get it all in. No, he re-raises. I think we're just going to ship it here. Yep. Let's just get the money in. And we're in good shape. We'll just let the board run out. We won't take insurance here. We'll scoop a nice pot. Yeah, he tried to, I don't know what he was trying to do. He tried to get tricky and it backfired quite badly. So I guess it's an example of some pretty big mistakes for stacks that get made in this playing environment. Just to plug the Potbombers again, if you want access to these sort of games, contact me. They run like this 24/7, so it's a great environment for grinders. It's also a very good environment for recreational players because you are in a field that you won't be outclassed in, especially if you're looking to learn poker and improve your game. This is a very good environment for that. So it suits all playing styles. The games are small, well within your bankroll. I certainly don't encourage people to play outside their bankroll. And in fact, I have many conversations with friends and other players in the club if I can see that they're starting to play games that they're not good enough for or that they're not bankrolled for. I do try and have a conversation with them and share my views on that. And those views are, why are you playing poker? What are you trying to achieve? And then, the answers come out from that. If they're a recreational player, there's no need for them to be playing big games if they can't afford it. If they can afford it, that's okay. It's your money, do whatever you want. But, I think it's very important to have limitations on any form of entertainment, whether it's poker, golf, going to the pub with friends. Most people in the world need to live to a budget. Poker's no different. It is entertainment. It's a skill-based game. Spend within your means. People going up in stakes that are under-rolled, that aren't prepared to study, will definitely get caught out. And being bankrolled for a game is not about having 5 buy-ins for a $5, $10 hold'em game. I mean, minimum is 50 buy-ins in my opinion, maybe 40. That theory doesn't get followed very much, especially by younger aspiring poker pros. They shot take far too early in my view, and that can be linked back to their expenses for living. So I mean, if they're living at home, or it doesn't cost them a lot to pay rent and food, well, they could probably shot take a little bit sooner. But if you're making a living out of poker, you don't have staking arrangements. There's no reason to step up in stakes too quickly. And if you're stepping up in stakes because you need to win 8 big blinds an hour at a bigger game to make enough money, well, you're not bankrolled well enough anyway. So you're just putting unnecessary pressure on yourself, in my opinion. Have a part-time job, play part-time. Some of the best small stakes grinders I've ever seen are people that actually have a full-time job or a part-time job. They put in 20 hours a week grinding poker, and a lot of them are better players than so-called full-time grinders. And there's something to be said for that. They have some balance in their life. They have some non-poker money coming in, which certainly relieves a lot of stress. And if you're playing scared money on the table, it just affects your game too much, and it's unlikely you'll succeed. Anyway, we digress. Excuse me. That'll form part of another video that I'll do on my thoughts on life and poker and all those good things. It is a game we love. No doubt it's harder to make money as a player these days, but we do love the game. It is a lifestyle choice, and I think finding ways to monetize your network while continuing to play is also very important. So think about not just being a player, but being something more than that. A lot of the pros, Doug Polk, Joey Ingram, Jay Nandez, a lot of those guys. I mean, Nandez still plays a lot, but there is a reason they got into content. There is a reason they got into coaching, and part of that is to give some balance to their lives. The grind gets very difficult. The other reason is it's very hard to make money. In some ways, they created their own sort of playing demise, in my opinion, because of the quality of the solvers, and the coaching was just so high. They were giving away their own playing edge by educating people. Not necessarily wrong, but it is one of the reasons why poker's become quite difficult to beat the game. Anyway, back to the action. We flat with ace-5 suited on the left. didn't quite see his stat, but I'm hoping I checked it. I think it's unlikely that he folds to 3 bets very often, that guy, so that's why we flattered behind. It's unlikely we're going to get re-raised by someone behind us, so I think we elected to flat there. If he doesn't fold to re-raises very often and he's raised in somewhat early position, I think we have to give him credit for a real hand. We pick up second nut flush draw. We stay in. We get there on the river. I mean, if we don't get value here, it's the bet sizing's not great, I don't think. Yeah, pretty badly played hand, I've got to be honest. I mean, I think there's a case to re-raise the turn and try and take it down there, or build the pot, and if we get there on the river, then a small bet on the river for value. But I think, as played, probably not optimal on my behalf. A little bit frisky with Jack 7 of hearts here on the button, but we're trying to isolate this chap with the yellow coding because he just doesn't fold. We've got some equity here. I think it hits our range. We should be c-betting. Get back to that screen in a minute and see what the outcome was. Not a bad flop, a little bit scary. There are plenty of turn cards we don't like on this 8-9 offsuit defend. We'd be happy to take it down here. If we get a brick on the turn, we'll continue betting. He didn't re-raise us when we bet the flop, so we're probably in pretty good shape. Good hand here. VPPO 50. We're not folding to either of these guys. In fact, we're happy to get it in pre. Well, we're just not folding. We're not folding ace king in this game against anyone really. I'll probably chop it up. There is a big chance, I guess, that we are getting crushed by this guy. That's the bottom of his range for stacking off pre, looking at his stats. Flipping against queens, crushed by kings and aces. So, yeah, maybe if it was a bigger game, I can get rid of that hand. I'm not sure, and that's not necessarily a correct statement because we should be playing optimal at every stake and not undervaluing these games just because they're for small stakes. So that might have been a silly comment. I'm not sure. I think there's an argument for stacking off, and there's an argument for for maybe giving him credit based on his stats and giving that ace king offsuit away pre. Defending with a one gapper connected on the right, 8-6 of clubberoonies. Hoping for a three-way. It's a heads-up pot. We flop a pair. I'm going to donk bet into him, I think. No, we didn't. I'm going to check call. Good turn card. I think taking the betting lead on the flop or the turn is, or check raising the flop is probably a better play. Now, we're trying to control the pot now. Lots of bad rivers. It's a pretty good river. I think we're check calling here. He didn't play the hand overly aggressive. Yeah, so he's got, ace queen, ace king, ace x. Flop a gut shot with the backdoor flush draw on the left, but we're done with the hand. We don't like my raise size there on the button with ace 6 suited. I think that should have been $1.60 or $1.80. Re-raise bet sizing is is not good in my view. I think that's just too small. We're going to definitely continue on this board. Paired board, low cards. He decides to call. I'm going to barrel here and put him under some pressure. And he calls. I think we're checking behind or folding here to a bet. And we just have to give him credit and say, well played, sir. Oh, don't call. Poker Hobbit, what are you doing? That's a bad call on the river. Players at this level, I mean, that was, you know, he got very thin value for his hand. Credit to him, actually. I tip my hat. But I do think that we find a fold there on the river. If he outplayed us and bluffed us on the river, setting us up for a bluff, well, you just got to say well played. We're not really beating anything. So we take our medicine on that one. Just trying to steal the blind here against the 45 VPIP. You know, most of the time our hand is good here. Not a great flop. We're going to check behind. His stack is tiny. There's no implied odds for us here to float. We'll just throw it. We'll raise ace rag on the button. Seven's on the button as well. I think that's a 3-bet or a raise. If it's limped, we should be 4xing. If it's folded, we should be 3xing, which we do. Give this guy some credit. He's got nothing in his stack. And again, you know, it's a mistake raise folding there with that stack size. We should be just dumping that pre-flop if we're not prepared to go with it, knowing that he's going to be shoving a lot of the time. So we put that down to a leak. Flop middle set here. 2 clubs. We don't want to get too crazy. We'll build the pot a little bit. You can't always be worried about flush draws getting there. You just lose so much action by over betting when you've got such a strong made hand. I see that all the time. People just, oh, I'm worried about the flush draw, I'm worried about the straight draw. Well, worry about the maths. And the maths are in your favour every day of the week on a board like that. Don't scare people away. Build the pot, don't go crazy. They get there, they get there. It's mathematics. But losing value in those situations is just a horrible mistake. And I've been guilty of it, and I get guilty of it in bigger cash games. And that's a scared money thing, right? You want to shut it down, you want to take the win, lock it up because you're playing in a big game, but it's just wrong on so many levels. But I'm definitely guilty of it. That's where I really tip my hat at true professionals, that they just don't think about the money. They think about the cards, the strategy, and the situation, and they just think about it in big blinds. They don't, $1, $2, or a $5, $10 game. It's just big blinds, and that's the currency you should always be thinking in when you're playing in a poker game. And if you can't, and you think about the money, you're playing in a game that's too big for you, and you're not going to play optimal. Stop that shit. Whoop, frisky here, 4-6 suited. Ugh. Whatever. Create some action. We have to see about that flop. There's no way to win the hand otherwise. We take it down. Pat on the back. Got away with murder there. That's okay. Pocket nines on the right hand side. Very nice starting hand. We can't give up that easy. It's a good board, but colour code red. Their VPIP is very low. This is a pretty tight player. I'm not sure I want to get into a pot for stacks here, but I can't fold yet. We pick up a gut shot as well. Not sure how far I want to go with this hand, to be honest. I'm hoping for a check behind. If they continue, well, they do check behind, and that is a disastrous river. Big part of their range has got there on the river. Yeah. I'm okay with it as played. I think it would have gone check, check, river on any non-Broadway card. But we lost the minimum. On that board, I would see a lot of people stack off with nines, but because they don't give credit to the range of their opponent. And against that opponent's range, yes, they might have ace, queen, ace, king, but a lot of the time they've got pocket pairs bigger than us. And just because we flop an overpair doesn't mean we should stack off. And it's a big mistake that people make a lot in these smaller games, I think. Paired board, heads up. I think we continue here. I think checking is a mistake there, although the pot is quite big. So he's not calling with nothing. And we need to put him all in on the river if we're going to take this pot. Yeah, look, I think that was okay to give up on. Yeah, he's bluffed us. Good for you, mate. Well done. He was thinking what we were thinking, but he had the balls to do it. Good example of position play there. And again, I don't know about you guys and gals, but I don't go on tilt if someone outplays me. I actually really respect it. So he was very excited about the bluff because he showed his cards and he's probably high-fiving his mate. But that's okay. I mean, that's where the skill comes in poker. And if someone outplays you in a hand, uh, pat them on the shoulder and say, "Well played, mate." I mean, that's what the game's about. And I don't think you can ever get upset when someone outplays you. You just have to give them credit and say, "Well done." That's my philosophy anyway. Especially in live games, if someone outplays you, no point getting upset. We've got a good flop on the left here. And it makes for a more enjoyable table. If someone outplays you and they show it, and you give them a pat on the back, buy them a coffee or a beer, it just makes the playing environment nicer. If you get someone that, calls them a retard or is mean to them or, whatever, I mean, it just wrecks the dynamic of the table. And poker should be social as well, especially at small stakes. You want to be having fun. Don't take it too serious. So, there's definitely some friendships I've made over the years where I'm playing with a new group of people and, in Australia or Asia and someone outplays me and I'm like, wow, that was really, well done, really good. Can I buy you a beer? They say, yes, we're still friends. I mean, some poker players are very solitary animals, which is okay. I mean, it is one of those careers that if you're a little bit reclusive, it can work for you, and I acknowledge and appreciate that for some people it does offer a solitary lifestyle, and that's what they want, and it's harder to get that in mainstream society if you are working in an office. But for me, I like the social aspect of the live poker scene, and I think it's a lot more fun when you interact, get involved with other players, and just try and have a nice attitude. That is a bad call. On the left, well, we had backdoor flush and a gutter ball to the nuts, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I'm going to like it less if we check call again. Okay, we didn't compound an error with another error, so that's good. 10-9 offsuit, getting frisky, under the gun, limp. I like the bet sizing at the $1.60, a little bit more than the $1.20. He still calls. Well, we're three-way here. There's some good turn cards for us. I don't mind the c-bet. I'll probably check it. And I think we're going to stab. No, we'll give up. He was smart enough to know that we had nothing, and he's got a red colour coding, so red for me means that they have a degree of skill based on their stats that we do give them credit for in situations like that, which I think is fair enough. I think that's a good turn card to bet with that hand on the previous screen. Excuse me. Hopefully I'm setting up for a check raise here. Let's see with the 8-7. No, I'm a wuss. I ran away. King Queen of Hearts. I think that's, again, we've spoken about that before. That's an easy raise, 6 max in this field pre-flop. I think full ring in a tougher field. I'm probably folding it pre-flop, to be honest. Well, I say that, but maybe I don't. Pretty good flop for our hand. We scoop that one. Try and steal the blind here on the left. A little bit of colour coding. It's a good flop for us, definitely continuing. Nothing to be scared about. And we're trying to steal if we take that down, we'd try to take down the pot pre on the right here with pocket sevens. It will just try and steer it to showdown. Pretty good river card. I'm hoping it goes check check. I think I'm calling here if he bets. I like to think I'm calling if he bets. Yeah, it's okay as played. Don't love this raise with Queen 10 off. I think it's because I was coming to the end of the session and I wanted to squeeze a few more hands in. And for you aspiring pros, that is a leak. Don't do what I do what I say. As our parents used to tell us all the time. Pretty good flop for that cheesy hand. We'll start betting now. Not sure why I floated the Queen 7. And we take that down. The Queen 10 hand, we probably should have bet the flop. I mean, that's a hand I think we're looking for 2 streets of value, not 3. 1 street of value, it's okay, but I think we left a little bit of money on the table in that hand as played. Ace Queen suited, very nice. Queen 9 suited on the left, not a great flop. Got some backdoor equity. Yeah, I think that's correct. Give that away. Ace Queen would take it down pre, never a bad thing. We just limp our big blind here. Not a great flop. I think any bet we're giving up. Pick up a gutter ball. Oh, double gutter. Beg your pardon. I think double gutter we... Ooh, we're raising. Okay. And now we give up. What a wuss. Oh, no, we don't. Oh, well done, us. I normally just give up there, being a bit of a scaredy cat. Anyway, that was it was nice to see I had a crack at it. Bit frisky with King Queen off, but you know we are looking at a yellow coated player. His PFR is 17%, so we're in pretty good shape against that. And he flats, so he didn't re-raise us. So I think we continue here. 2 overcards, backdoor flush. Hopefully we just take it down. Lots of turn cards that we continue on. And he must have folded. Got a min click raise on the right here. I haven't color coded that player. Just seems pretty weak. So we're going to test him out with King 10 off. I'd like a fold here, but I can't remember what I did. I might have got stubborn. No, I didn't get stubborn. I think a fold's the right thing there. Oh, got the kings on the left. That'll be very nice. So we're getting near the end of the session, so us to get to a big pot here. Unlikely that we will now, looking at the way the action. But well, he's raised. We're gonna. I don't like that bet sizing. I think that's too high. His looks like a weak steal. He's called, but I don't like my 3-bet. My 4-bet. I'm sorry. Not the best turn card. He might fill up on the river. I think he's given up here. I think that's a good bet size. Could probably even downsize that river bet a little bit. Maybe $8. Yeah, I think raising here on the right, just take the dead money. Especially when we've got a color code red on the tighter side, you can exploit them, steal their blinds quite often. You know, if that works 4 or 5 times in an hour, 6 times in an hour, you know, you're picking up 6 big blinds there for free, basically. So it's a good strategy with a tight player on your left that doesn't defend particularly often. And even if they do defend, you know their hand range is more polarized. If they re-raise you, you're pretty much crushed. If they just flat, there's a lot of boards you can continue on the flop that misses their range. We've only got 3 or 4 minutes to go. So in closing, and to be honest, I don't really know how I did in this session. I think I was up a little bit. I made a few mistakes on the right-hand table because that stack was definitely a lot higher than $90. So I've made a few mistakes, or I got cooled or something. I think I made some mistakes, got a bit frisky. That's okay. But I think overall in the session we're probably up a little bit. I hope you got, a little bit of fun out of it. I definitely made some mistakes. I think I made some good moves. The games are great. And my contact details are on the channel. Always happy to talk to fellow poker players and share ideas and thoughts. And if you do have any interest in the clubs that I've been involved with, feel free to send me a note in Telegram, or you can check us out on www.potbombers.com. We have a 24/7 help desk for any inquiries, and all the onboarding can be done through the website. But you can also contact me on t.me/pokerhobbit, in Telegram. Happy to have a chat there as well. And check out the videos from Reggie Time Poker, my co-content provider. Reggie does some work for us in the UK. He's one of our partner agents. Great guy, very professional. We love working with him, and we provide his players with a very good playing environment across 2 clubs, one in Asia, one in Australia. And we would be happy to do that for you too. So we're winding down the session. I think the next session for the No Limit Hold'em, I will play 30 cent, 60 cent, and I'm planning on doing a session in the other club, which is the Potbombers Club, which is in the Philippines. We play in peso. Peso to Aussie dollars about 32 to 1. US it's about 50 to 1. They do have some true micro games in there, so people that want to play true micro stakes like 2 cent, 4 cent, that is catered for in the Quad Miners Club. There's plenty of action. The games are quite good there as well. And again, for people that want to focus on the micro, whether that's their thing or you're learning poker and want to play in the small games, 2 cent, 4 cent peso equivalent in Quad Miners is definitely on the table, and I highly recommend that as a low cost way to get into the game of poker. Not much happening here. I'm assuming that we're about to, yes, we've shut down on the left. And we should be shutting down on the right. I think this is my last hand. Do we go out a winner? Got a gut shot, backdoor flush, 2 overcards. I'm going to bet. Ooh, what do we do? Yeah, crushed. Absolutely crushed. Run good, run good. End of video excitement tilt. Wow. Okay. Well,